What's up, YouTube? My name is Arthur Robinson Jr. I am the creator and host of PowerfulInterviews.com. I am a partner of NationalDiversified.com. I want to welcome each and every one of you to this phenomenal video. In this interview, you're going to experience life-changing information that you will not find anywhere else. I have secured an incredible interview with a great friend of mine, successful businessman, the actor, the phenomenal director. His name is Bill Duke. Bill Duke is basically a phenomenal businessman, and he's been in phenomenal movies and directed movies like Deep Cover with Lawrence Fishburne. He's also been in phenomenal movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger with the phenomenal hit classic Predator and Commando. In this interview, you're going to hear exclusively how Bill Duke, he talks about his humble beginnings to where he is today. Also in this interview, Bill Duke, he breaks down layman's terms about what inspired him to write his phenomenal book, which is called Bill Duke. Also in this interview, Bill Duke, he breaks down layman's terms about how he grew up in the segregation days and his mother and father instilled values in him, and they basically told him that you're no better than anybody else, but no one is better than you, and much, much more. So remember, this is not BS information. The right information will change your current situation. Wealthy people, they take advice from other wealthy people, and unfortunately, broke people, they take advice from broke people. So right about now, go get your pen and your pad, sit back and relax, and write down some notes. In this interview that I'm going to reveal to each and every one of you with my great friend, a phenomenal film director, and he is a successful businessman. His name is Bill Duke. This interview, it will change your life. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on. That way you be well informed when I publish more successful audio interviews. So, check it out. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the one, the only, the powerful Bill Duke to the show.
God bless you, my brother. Thank you so much for having me on, brother. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Bill, for taking time out of your busy schedule to educate me and the listeners worldwide about your phenomenal Bill Duke, and about your phenomenal foundation, Duke Media Foundation. I gladly appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. You're responsible for a lot of us having some recognition, and you bringing us to the forefront, man. I appreciate it. You're doing great work, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bill. I appreciate you. To everyone that's listening, I highly recommend go and get your pen and your pad right now. My great friend Bill Duke is going to break down layman's terms about his phenomenal book, Bill Duke, and we're going to talk about his humble beginnings to where he is today. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes, sir. I was born in a small town that you probably never heard of, upstate New York, called Poughkeepsie, New York, on the Hudson River. And it was during the time of segregation. I was born in 1943. And we were still in a period of segregation. There were lynchings in the South, and, but I had parents that were wonderful people. And my father worked 3 jobs. My mother worked 2. They worked 7 days a week sometimes. But they never took welfare. They never took public assistance. They were very proud, and they taught us that we had to work for everything. So my principles in my life came from my parents.
Now, I've seen a fascinating interview that you did on the Flat TV platform, and you was talking about when your parents was actually growing up. They actually grew up in an era where I never heard this era before, where they grew up in the Deep South, but it's called nigger barbecues. Can you explain that to the listeners so they fully understand? What is nigger barbecues?
Well, the thing is, there's a great book called Without Sanctuary, and it's a pictorial history. If you want to pick it up, great, Without Sanctuary, and it's a pictorial history of the lynchings in America of black people, and what they call the nigger barbecues. They literally, and I'm not exaggerating, this is genocidal, they used to put us on spits alive and put a fire on us, under us, and roast us like pigs. Or they used to hang us in trees and put fires under us until our bodies dehydrated into ash. And there were hundreds of people at these events, these nigger barbecues, and they used to hold up pieces and smile and take pictures, and those pictures are in this book. So it was a time when, for example, my parents would tell us that they were walking to church on Sunday and it was raining. They didn't have streets that were paved. They were dirt, and they had wooden sidewalks, and they would be walking on the sidewalk. If a white family came toward them, they had to step into the mud until the white family was like 100 yards away, bow their heads, and get back on the sidewalk and walk toward church.
Wow.
And every family that passed them, they had to step into the mud. Those are the times that they came from.
What value systems did your parents instill in you when you were 10 years old all the way up to 15 years old?
Well, there's a phrase I'll never forget that my father and mother told my sister and I live it till this day. They said, always remember, you're no better than anybody else, but nobody else is better than you.
Wow. Now, you were in a lot of phenomenal movies, and I love the movie that you was in Car Wash and in Menace to Society. You was also in that movie, which is a classic, which is called Predator, and you actually acted in that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. What was that experience like when you got that movie role in Predator, and how was it working with the great Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Well, first of all, Arnold is one of the most humble people I've ever known, a great human being. He's a collaborator, and we were working in conditions, brother, that I'll give you an example. During the first week we were there, first of all, we were in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, up in the hills in the jungle. It took us 45 minutes to go from the hotel up into the mountains.
Wow.
When I say mountains, it was just, I'm talking about mosquitoes and bugs and all kinds of things, snakes, and we were in the jungle. And the first week, the caterer put netting around, where we ate, so the bugs wouldn't get into the food. But every time we got food, there's the bugs in the food because he could not keep the bugs away. And the first week we told him, take that crap back. We're not eating it. My friend, by the third week, it was called protein.
Wow.
There was no more food to eat, sir. And so it brought us all together as a brotherhood and a team, And it was a rough shoot. We were calling on our bellies and heat. And there's one story, I don't know if you know this or not, but the Predator that you saw was not the original Predator. Did you know that?
Wow. I didn't know that.
The original Predator was a smaller creature. He had lasers coming out of his body, but the actor that was doing it had to he was in this costume. They were going to superimpose the special effects over him, but there was like a felt costume. He had on wires going through the trees and everything, and it was like 100 and maybe 4 or 5 degrees, and he got dehydrated twice and passed out. So the producer, Joel, said, hey, man, you love what you're doing, but you're costing me time. You can't pass out. And so he said, look, man, I'm dehydrated. I'm doing it on purpose. Joel said, pass it one more time, you get fired. 2 weeks go by. The guy passes out. He gets fired on the spot. That guy that got fired was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Wow. I did not know that.
His first job ever on a film. Is that crazy?
That is absolutely crazy. But that film, Bill, is a classic. And I know they made other Predator movies, but none of those movies top the first one. Why do you think that is? Because it seemed like you and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers and the other fascinating actor, that was in that movie, but he's real political right now.
Yes.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, yes.
All of y'all actually played the role so well, and I like the other Predator movies, but none of them top the first one. Why do you think that is when it comes to chemistry? Do you think that actors need real chemistry when they're on the set, when they're actually doing a thing in the films?
Yes, I do, and I think that makes a big difference. But also, it was the only one of the films that I remember that was made in the jungle, which is the Predator's home. The other ones were made in cities and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when you're in the Predator's home, it's like going to somebody's house and you're going to tell them what to do and how to act. That ain't going to work because they know their home better than you do. And so the conditions that we were working under made us brothers because, I mean, we were working in 104 and 5 and 6 degrees weather, running, crawling on our stomachs. One day in the hotel, the water filtration system broke down. Everybody got sick, vomiting and throwing up. Arnold, this is crazy, but Arnold bought out 2 ballrooms in the hotel and had shipped in tractor and trailers 2 gyms, and he made the ballrooms gymnasiums. So every morning that we shot, we'd be on the set by 7. Arnold and the guys had to get up at 4 o'clock, and they would run like 4 or 5 miles. Then they would come back and work out in the gym for an hour or so, eat breakfast, and then go to the set. I did it 3 times. But you know.
Wow. So it was like y'all was really in the military.
Yeah. Yes.
Y'all had a military schedule.
Yes, we had, special forces guys training us and everything, and it was brutal, but we all went through it together. You know what I'm saying? And so we became a brotherhood. It wasn't an easy shoot, but we got through it together. And John McTiernan is one of the, I think, greatest storytellers with camera that I've ever met. And he was a great director and worked with the actors and brought everything out of us. And so it was a great experience.
Now, do you still generate a lot of royalties from Predator?
No, man. In the beginning, yes. But, residuals diminish over the years, And I may get maybe $10, but I don't send it back.
Wow. Now, the movie you also played in, which is a phenomenal classic, Commando, and I love that line when you and Arnold was actually fighting, and you said, "You scared, motherfucker? Well, you should be, because this Green Beret is going to kick your big ass." That movie still burns into my brain to this day, Bill. How did you get that role when you actually were acting in that phenomenal smash classic, Commando?
Well, the thing is that, I met Joel Silver, and I auditioned for him. He liked what I had to do. I think he saw Car Wash. He liked my role in Car Wash and some other things I did. So I was very fortunate to get the role. And Arnold and I clicked together. We had mutual respect for each other. And Arnold is one of the funniest people you ever meet. He tells jokes all the time and makes the set a joyous place to be. And so I got the role through Joel and the approval of Arnold. And once Predator came along, they just called me over to the studio and said, "Hey, we got this role. You interested in it?" And that's how I got the Predator role. Wow.
And how did you get the role where, I love that movie as well, and that's a classic, and Get Rich or Die Trying?
No, they just really asked me to they just asked me to do it, based upon my other roles, and working with 50 and the other folks. I wanted to work with him because I really respect his music, and also, the script was a great script. I enjoyed the director also, so it was what happened was, they called my agent, and the director said he wanted to sit down and just talk to me. I didn't have to reach for anything. We started talking about the role. And so I went and met him at one of the hotels in Hollywood, and we sat down and had some food, and went from there.
Wow. Now, you was also in another classic, which is called Men's Society.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
That line, I mean, the roles you play, I'm going to be honest with you, Bill. I wish you would have had more roles in that movie. But when you played that detective and had that young man scared, and you said, you done fucked up, right? You done fucked up. And the look on his face, like he knew he done fucked up, but he didn't want to admit to it. Like, when you read that script, did you add your own flavor into that role, or was the script already laid out for you?
Well, the script was laid out, but the Hughes brothers are great directors, and they're great collaborators with actors. And so they wrote it, but they said, Bill, whatever you want to bring to it, Mm-hmm. And, man, I swear, I travel around the world. I go to a lot of places. I swear to you, I was in Brussels, Belgium, 6 months ago. Young people come up to me and say that line, man. Of every film I've ever been in, that's the line I remember. No matter where I go. It's crazy.
Wow. Now, Bill, from your era, and I know you worked a lot with Arnold Schwarzenegger, do you think the chemistry that y'all developed over the years, do you think that will actually come back with the movies that are cast in today?
I think if you look at Denzel, Sam Jackson, other people, they work with people that they trust, and they with directors they trust, producers they trust, and actors that they respect. And I think that there are some people that carry that tradition on. But there are other people, other movies that are more, how can I say, they're action-oriented and they're well-designed that way, but the question is, do you care about anybody in the movie? What I'm saying? I mean, if they die, do you really care if they died or not? Or are you so caught up in the action? So I believe in great stories, scripts with great stories. And it's not easy to find great scripts today with great stories. And that's what, I prefer.
Wow. Bill, can you explain to the audience what is the best advice that you have ever received?
Wow. As a human being?
Yes.
I'll tell you a true story. I had broken up with this young lady I was in love with. And we just didn't get along, and, I was angry, and I went to this therapist, and I sat down with the therapist, and I was vomiting out, all my things about her, what she'd done, and da-da-da-da. It took around 10 or 12 minutes. So he says, Bill, you finished? I said, yeah. He said, Bill, did you ever, you know what you should do? You should invest in a roll of toilet paper. I said, what did you say? He said, I think you should invest in a roll of toilet paper. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, Bill, you're really good at talking about how bad she stinks, but if you had a piece of toilet paper and reached back and wipe your own emotional ass and sniffed it, you never talk about nobody again.
Ooh. Wow.
I said, am I paying you for this? He said, yes.
Wow. And that statement stuck with you all these years.
Hey, man, if you look, the mirror's your worst enemy. If you can't look in the mirror, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The mirror will tell you the truth. If you can smell your own crap, your critique of other people goes down because ain't nobody full of more crap than you.
Wow. Bill, you've been in a lot of phenomenal movies, and you are still relevant in today's movie industry. Can you explain to the audience what mistakes are you seeing that new actors are making in regards to putting out phenomenal material for the audience to engage in?
Well, I think, how can I say? I think a lot of young people today, brother, they want to be famous, okay? And they're not committed to the craft of acting, directing, and writing. They're not. There's a craft to it, man. It's not. And I'm not putting down reality shows and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is that acting is a very different thing from that. Acting is a science of surrender and courage. I mean, I'm not young girls, going on YouTube and having sex with men naked and doing those things. Yes, they're famous for a minute, but is it lasting? Is it a craft that can sustain you through your life? For a few people, yes. But for most people, they drop off, and that particular image is with them for the rest of their lives. So my thing is, if you're interested in this business, if you're interested in directing, acting, writing, producing, there are places you can go to learn the craft of it, not just, being famous for a moment, but a lasting. Second thing I would say, it's a business. It's called show business. It should be called business show, because if you don't know how to sustain yourself financially, if you don't know that there are going to be times coming that are very hard and difficult, no matter how famous you are, you're going to have dry spots. I have this metaphor for Hollywood, and it's not just me. I use my own name, but I think you might find it interesting. It's a four-parter, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, who's Bill Duke? Number two, you got to get me Bill Duke. Number three, you got to find me a younger Bill Duke. Number four, who's Bill Duke?
I like that. Wow.
Is that real or not?
That's as real as they're gonna get. Wow. Bill, you also were acting in that phenomenal classic Car Wash, and you acted with the phenomenal great Richard Pryor. What was it like working with Richard Pryor, and how did you land that role with the phenomenal classic Car Wash?
Well, man, first of all, the great Michael Schultz, which is still one of the greatest directors around, directed that, and he was a friend of mine. We knew each other in New York, and when I came to Hollywood, we kept up with each other. And when Car Wash came along, he invited me over to the set with Ivan Dixon, who helped produce the thing. And we talked, and then the next thing I knew, they gave me the part. Working with Richard Pryor, man, was I can't, one of the funniest collaborative human beings I've ever met in my life. I admired him for many, many years, and just working with him and being on the set with him and the Pointer Sisters, and that scene where they sing around me and so on. Mm-hmm. That's one of the highest points for me in terms of work that I've done, ever. And I'll never forget, man. I saw Richard Pryor coming out of the courthouse after his second divorce, and he was crying, weeping and sobbing, right?
Wow.
And this is a true story. And the reporter asked him, Richard, what happened? He looked at the reporter and said, man, she took everything but the blame.
Wow.
Everything but the blame.
Wow.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Now, Richard Pryor, he's basically, I don't want to call him a legend. I just say that he's a real class act when it comes to being a stand-up comedian, and he's also a phenomenal actor. And I always visualized the movies that you was in. I always wanted you and Eddie Murphy to do a movie together. Do you think that will ever come about with you and Eddie Murphy being in the same movie together?
I would love it. I would love. I respect Eddie's work. I don't think Eddie gets enough credit as an actor. Eddie's a really good actor.
Yes, he is.
And I don't think he gets. They look at him from the comic side. Mm-hmm. But in terms of his chops as an actor, Eddie goes there, man, with the character, And I just hope that, I would have the privilege one day of working with him or directing him or acting in a movie with him. I would love it. I respect him.
Yes. He's been in the game for a long time, and I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. But he's a great actor. He's a phenomenal comedian. I wish he had come back to the forefront and do stand-up again.
Yeah, I wish he would, man, because he's also is very political. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In terms of he made you laugh, but he did social commentary. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think he and Richard Pryor have that in common. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever saw this, the Saturday Night Live thing between Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase. Did you ever see that?
Oh, that was absolutely phenomenal.
Was that phenomenal, man? Was that incredible?
Yes. And actually, when Eddie Murphy was in Saturday Night Live, he actually saved that show, in my opinion.
Yes, he did. That show just launched so many people, and I watch it to this day. You know what I'm saying?
Bill, let's talk about the power of using video. Now, I know a couple of years back, Google bought YouTube for $1.6 billion. So video is hot right now. Can you explain to the audience the power of using video? Should entrepreneurs and business leaders use video to expand their brand?
Well, people should, I think in terms of franchise. It's taking one piece of intellectual property and leveraging it across multiple income streams. The geniuses of this is Disney. Disney will make, let's say, an animated feature with 3 different characters. Then it will split those characters, and they'll have their own films at some point. And then it's a comic book, and then it's mugs and T-shirts and hats and everything. And then guess what? It's a ride at Disneyland. You've taken one IP and leveraged it across multiple income streams. Number 2, I was doing my film, my television show here, Black Lightning. I did a film with Steven Soderbergh in New York called High Flying Bird. Steven Soderbergh shot the entire feature film with 5 iPhone 8s. He didn't have any big lighting crew. It was mostly available light. He would shoot, and then he would go home, have dinner, and edit the footage on his MacBook Pro that evening. So the question is, who is stopping us except ourselves from making movies? There are people like, Issa Rae, for example. She had webisodes, right? Awkward Dark Girls, right? Now she's got a big deal with HBO. The kids who did It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia start off with webisodes. They've been on the air for 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm saying is that there's nothing stopping us. When I came up, there was no internet. I don't know if you saw the first cell phone. The first cell phone was so big. You remember that thing? Do you remember?
Oh, yes. It looked like a landline phone.
That's right. That you carried around and put in your car, right? Right now, you can make movies with a cell phone.
You're right.
Do I make any sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, before Steve Jobs passed away, with him and his partner Steve Wozniak, they grew the Apple brand within 5 years. Before he passed away, he had $119 billion in the bank, cash, liquid.
Yes.
But that was the impact that they actually did with intellectual property for owning cell phones with the iPhone. Because I remember BlackBerry was actually killing it. And before they named that phenomenal brand, BlackBerry, those cell phones was called the Palm Pilots. You remember those?
Oh, yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir. I had one.
Wow. When it comes to building big franchises or big brands, Bill, what do you think it actually takes to build a phenomenal brand in regards to what Steve Jobs did when he built the Apple brand?
I think it takes the courage to believe you can do the impossible. People limit you because they said, well, no one's ever done that before. That's impossible. And so when people hear those words, many shut down. But there are other people. I'll give you an example, man. It's like in terms of the creative process in Hollywood, or no matter where it is,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example. Like, say you're on this side of a lake and you look across the lake and there's land over there and it says opportunity, right? Some people will put their foot in the water. Oh, it's too cold. Their elbow, no, it's too warm. Or they'll say, oh, the water's too deep. And they'll stand on the lake judging the water, right? Other folks just jump in. And some of them can't even swim. But they jump in, some of them drown, and some of them paddle their way to the other side of the lake. Now, by the time the rest of us decide we're going to go to the other side of the lake, when we get there, there are signs up. And the signs say, access fees. Because the people who took the chance, right?
That's right.
To be picked, they deserve it, right? Because they took the chance. Make any sense?
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So once people like you, respect you, and know you, that's when their minds are made up and they want to invest in you because you are your brand?
I think that people want, I've been forced to become a businessman. And, I used to go in and I used to, pitch to investors and networks and studios my passion. My great-grandfather was a slave, and we need to tell this story, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I come back, after months and months of doing this and didn't get a deal. And I went to my agent one day, and I said, what the hell, what's going on? They look like they like the concept, but they don't get back to me. And he said, Bill, in the first 3 minutes of the pitch, did you answer the essential question? I said, no, what is that? He said, Bill, what they want to know in the first 3 minutes is the answer to this question. How in the hell you going to make me my money back?
That's true. That is absolutely true.
You can have as much passion as you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But suppose somebody came to you, man, and said, I want $3 million. You want to know the answer to the same question?
I'm going to get my money back.
You're going to get my money back. For the profit.
That's right.
Profit, right?
Because actually when you borrow capital that way, you actually are responsible for that investor's money, and actually that investor is your shareholder.
Yes, sir. But a lot of people don't look, a lot of people in our industry look at it from a passion point of view. And I'm not saying we should destroy anybody's passion. I'm not suggesting that.
Mm-hmm.
But passion without a plan to get them their money back is called frustration.
So you took your passion, Bill, in the acting industry, and you basically took your passion and turned it into phenomenal profits.
Well, I'd like to have more profit, but yes, some profit. and really trying to understand how distribution and financing really works, And I'm still learning it because it's changing every day. I mean, when I look at how the business is changing, it's incredible to me. Okay, you have Netflix and Amazon. They're not TV stations.
No.
But they're getting Emmys.
That's absolutely true.
I thought Emmys were for TV shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not television stations.
And they actually are giving people a lot of deals on that platform in regards to Netflix, and actually Amazon is doing a movie platform as well. Yeah,
they release them in theaters and online. Amazon, I think, I want to make sure, they said Amazon's spending like $5 billion this year, and I think Netflix around $7 or $8 billion on content.
Yes.
Billion?
Mm. Yes, Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, he is pretty much taken over. He actually invested in the Whole Foods industry.
That's right. He sure did.
And I know on the Netflix platform, you got they offer Dave Chappelle and Amy Schumer, and they offered Monique. They offering a lot of these comedians and great actors big deals because Netflix, they constantly need content.
Yes, they all need content. And the thing is that if we can get people to start thinking, instead of trying to be discover themselves, that's a great way to go, because there are a lot of brilliant young people out there with great ideas, but they don't understand that they have to package it in a way where they have to sell it. It's not about, I have a great idea. Okay, can you create a sizzle reel? You have a cell phone. Can you, take the idea and put it in a format and write something that makes sense? And what is your audience? What's your demographic? Put it together with a deck that spells out the business portion of it too.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible to do, but a lot of us are just stopping ourselves.
Yes, that's absolutely true. A lot of people, they have self-limiting beliefs. And Bill, I appreciate you coming on my show today, because the whole premise of my show is to educate entrepreneurs and business leaders that they can live an exceptional life, but they have to be open to these important principles. So I don't like what I see with some of the news, so I create my own news.
Hey, thank God for you then, because I can't watch the news anymore, man. I get frustrated, man.
Well, see, every time you turn on the news, all you see is rape, pillage, plunder, recession, depression. You're getting dumped with negativity. But what people should be putting into their mental garden is positivity, information from people who are doing well, information from people who are not dwelling on tragedy, but more on success. Yes, sir.
I mean, you know something? There's a lot of good things happening in this world, but we don't see it. That's why I like this program that Anderson Cooper does every year. It's called CNN Heroes. You ever see it?
Yes, I actually seen an episode of it.
I mean, people around the world, man, doing positive things, man, not for profit, but because they care about other people. And I just think there should be more of that kind of news, like Good News Network or something, Some of the things that you're doing, you're helping. You're not just using media for profit. You're giving a perspective that is positive, gives hope, that gives, people the potential to do things. And I wish there was more of you out there. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm being honest.
Well, I know TV and radio, their number one goal is ratings. And when you publish phenomenal content to the world on an international scale, the positive doesn't run that long, but the negative always run longer than the positive. And I think that, that needs to be reversed. But I know that, even when you come up with a movie, when people want to go to the box office and check out that movie, as long as it has drama in it, they're going to come. But if it has positivity in it, you're only going to get a certain audience that wants to see that.
Yes, sir.
And I think we need, both needs to be expressed to the world in terms of positive and the negative, but as long as the negative has a message in it where it can turn around to the positive, because love always conquers much more than destruction.
I agree 1,000%. I call it edutainment. You can entertain, but you can have nuggets of stuff in there, right, that give information, that make people think or feel about something. You know what I'm saying? It could be a drama, it can be action, it can be romance, it can be comedy, whatever, but you can give people something to feel and think about, which I think that's the power. That's the power of media, I think.
Bill, I wrote down some powerful words, 10 being the highest and 1 being the lowest, so you can read them in your own influential way. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Accountability.
Number 1,000, man.
10 the highest and 1 the lowest.
10.
Perseverance.
10.
Family.
10.
Love.
20.
Income producing assets.
10.
Health.
20.
Wealth.
You say wealth?
Yes.
Wealth, yes, I would say an 7.
Money.
10.
Leverage.
10.
Success.
See, it depends what you mean by that. But I would say if it's success that's rewarding to you, a 10. If it's success that costs you your dignity and everything that you believe in, I would say a 1.
Integrity.
10.
Financial education.
10.
Empowerment.
10.
Inspired.
10.
Legacy.
I got a phrase for that. Aspire to inspire before you expire.
Ooh, I like that. Legacy.
10.
All right, that was good. That was real good, Bill.
You are experiencing a life-changing, powerful interview, and you are hearing it first from Arthur Robinson Jr.'s PowerfulInterviews.com.
Bill, let's talk about the word entrepreneur. Now, the word entrepreneur means entreprendre, and it was a Latin word. It was invented in the 15th century in France. And a gentleman by the name of John Baptist, he invented the word, and over 300 years later, that word still exists, which is entrepreneur. So entre means between, and prendre means to take. So it means to take lower productivity and increase it to higher productivity. Can you explain to the audience how are you increasing your productivity in your businesses?
Well, number one, I think that we have to connect our businesses. In other words, let's go back for a second. I mean, it goes back. What purpose? Why are we here? You know, why? I know, you know, money and cars and houses and fame are important. It's better to have them than not. But I know a lot of people that have money, power, and fame and are very miserable. So what's missing? It's that hole that money and power and fame cannot fill. I mean, we see famous people, stars and athletes and everything on the news in trouble emotionally, miserable, etc., right? Because all that stuff did not fill that essential hole. So if you're talking about being an entrepreneur without considering your own self-love and happiness and spreading it to other people, then I think it can be a lonely, very, how can I say, absent entrepreneurism. If you're helping other people if you have love of yourself, if you're passing that love of yourself down to your children, you're leaving a legacy in terms of your children caring about more than their own egos. You know, I forgot his name, but, you know, it was this great philosopher, speaker. I forgot his name, but somebody I liked a lot.
Les Brown?
Pardon me?
Les Brown?
Yeah. I love him too, but not him. He had this saying about ego, E-G-O, and he said what ego stands for is edging God out.
That's absolutely true. And a lot of people need to stop edging God out, and they need to start embracing God. And once you put him into your life, he would guide you down the path of experiencing riches.
That's right, sir. And the riches you experience are not only going to be money and things, but the internal appreciation of, you know, it's like we all are. I'm into a period of gratitude in my life. I'm 75, and every day I wake up, man, I thank God. I thank spirits. I thank, you know, all the people that in my life that love me and I love, and that response for me being here. Because gratitude, when I get a little down sometimes, I get in my car and I ride down the street. I look to the left, I look to the right. And you know what I say? I don't want that. I'll take this. I'll take this. Okay, I'll take this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and guess what, man? You ain't got to ride far. You know that, right? That's
true. That is absolutely true. And you don't look 75, Bill. You look like you're around 51 or 50 years old. You look like you're half a century.
Thank you, man. I wish my knees knew that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Do you work out? Do you go to the gym?
Oh, 3 days a week, man. I do a little yoga and stuff like that, and I do transcendental meditation every day. It saves my life, man. Stretching and stuff, and meditation, and doing things that you know you have to do, and how you eat is very. I mean, I'm vegan 3 or 4 days a week.
Wow.
I don't eat meat or anything because I won't go into that, but I just feel that you really have to value yourself and what you take into your system and your body, not only in terms of food, but what you take in mentally and spiritually. You know, there's one thing you cannot let into your life, brother, is drama. You know, that
is true.
I got a friend. He got divorced. He was married for 17 years, right?
Wow.
So I said, Charlie, man, 17 years, man. Why did you just stay in it? And he said to me, man, I realized I could be alone by myself. Can you imagine being with somebody else and feeling alone?
You know, Bill, I've been with my wife over 14 years. And when it comes to marriage, you know, you got to work on it, or if you have a significant other, you got to work on it. And, you know, you got to get along outside the bedroom as well as inside the bedroom. But if people just marry just for money, or they just marry just for lust, that formula right there is going to run out. It's going to run out shortly. But if y'all not really compatible in regards to liking the same things, and y'all really want to focus on building a foundation, if that's not there, then basically that marriage or that relationship is basically just going to fall apart.
You're 100% right. And, you know, you got to have a friend.
That's right.
And a friend is not just there when you are going through good times.
Mm-hmm.
A friend is there comforting you when you're going through your worst times. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about, oh, you know, we're so. Do you know that the divorce rate in America now is like, I think 58%, something like that?
Wow.
So people get married for the reasons that you say, for the sex, for things, for money, for fame or whatever. But there's no friendship. There's no real caring. And without that, it can't last.
That is absolutely true. And I know for our kings, they really need to court our queens. And, you know, when you get into a relationship and it evolves eventually into a marriage, y'all basically had to have each other's back. And you got to be willing to grow, because it could be the man that's growing mentally and the woman is remaining stagnant, or it could be vice versa. The woman is growing mentally and the man could be remaining stagnant. And once you get to the point where y'all growing apart, that's when the marriage or the relationship is basically in the red zone, and you got to get it back to the green zone where everybody is on the same page.
That's very true, sir. But you know, you have to care enough. You have to care enough about yourself and the other person to do that. You know, I met this couple a year ago, and they were in their late 70s, and they'd been married for 50-some years. Okay.
Wow.
And so I asked the wife. I said, "Listen, I mean, I've never been married, and I want to get married. Can you tell me the secret to your relationship?" Oh, she said, "I can tell you that easy." I said, "What is it?" She said, "We just wanted to get divorced at different times."
Wow. Wow. That's a big secret. Wow. Bill, earlier we touched on money. Now let's talk about money. Now I know money is not value. Money is just a facilitator to do transactions. Can you explain to the audience, how would you define money?
Well, money really is a leveraging tool. Money gives you a certain level of comfort. But if you are taught just to buy things and not taught how to use money, then you know it's a different reality. I mean, I know, you know, this accountant told me one time. He said most minorities spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't know. I know 5 or 6 people that are multi-millionaires. And do you know that they drive Toyotas, Priuses? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, that's right.
They don't want you to know they got money, because they don't want you asking them for no damn money. But you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But we'll go and spend $400 on a pair of sneakers, or as my buddy would say, you know, as Kanye West, and I know he's controversial, and before his mother died, man, I think he was one of the greatest lyricists ever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And one of his, I don't know if it was School Days or whatever it was, I forgot the exact album, but he had this lyric I never forgot. He said, "Oh, my people, for that dollar, how low we'll stoop. But when you riding in your Benz, you still a nigga in a coupe."
Wow.
What reminded me of that is, I don't know if you heard about what happened to LeBron James' mansion in Bel Air. Did you hear about that?
What happened?
Man, a couple of months ago, man, in the middle of the night, some people came in with a spray can of paint, and across the front gate of his mansion wrote the word nigger.
Oh, wow.
And his response was classic, man. These weren't the exact words, but there was something to this extent. He said, "LeBron James, more money I can spend in 2 lifetimes, and I'm famous. So, but I'm a black man in America. I'll always be a nigger."
Wow.
LeBron James, brother. LeBron James.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But that's just going to show you with all the hatred that is going on in this world. And the more success you become success breeds hate. And you're going to have a lot of haters, but, haters stand for having anger towards everyone reaching success.
That's true. I love that.
And, you got to really be careful when it comes to, especially when you are a public figure. But that comes with the territory. But, when it comes to cultural differences, I think that white people just don't understand, brown and black people. But I think if they really took the time to really understood where we come from in our culture, I think all of us as a conglomerate, we can all get along. But I just know that certain individuals are going to get along and just certain individuals just not going to get along. But I just focus on the people that wants to be positive and wants to change people's lives in a positive way. And I don't like to be around toxic people, because you start being around toxic people, that starts to breed toxic energy. That's
true. And something else I would say, man, one of the things that really disturbing to me, man, and I agree with you also in terms of other races, etc. But one of the things that bothers me is what we do to each other, man. It's like two things I'll tell you. One, last year, in one weekend in Chicago, 82 black people killed each other in 3 days.
Wow. That is crazy.
82. And did you see on Oprah Winfrey's show, man, on Miss Von Zant's show on the OWN network, these 6 young black men, and between them they had, I think, almost 70 children?
Wow. That is crazy.
You know what I'm saying, man? I mean, if we could begin to, how can I say, begin to deal with things that we can control in our own environment.
Mm-hmm.
It would. When I was a young boy, if my father and mother told my sister and I not to ride our bikes on the street, but on the sidewalks because of the traffic, if Miss Johnson, the next door neighbor, saw my sister and I riding our bike on the street, she would come out of our house, put our bikes on her stoop, and say, "Sit on that couch and don't say a word." She would call my father at work and say, "Bill, they're riding their bike on the street." My father would say, "I'll be there in an hour." My brother, that was the longest hour of our lives.
Wow.
What happened to Miss Johnson, man? What happened to her, man?
Wow.
Without her, man, that's why we're in chaos, because the Miss Johnsons, man, they get cursed at and shouted down and shot and for caring, brother.
You're absolutely right. And I think some people on this world, I think they really want the world to be in chaos, and that's what's wrong. And when it comes to our culture, it's strength in numbers. You're successful. I want to learn, how did you become successful? What was the blueprints? And I know a lot of people that became successful, they all had humble beginnings, and they all went through a lot of BS to get where they are today. And, Bill, I know you went through a lot of trials and tribulations. Can you explain to the audience that it is a price to pay to become a successful?
Well, the thing is that we're living in a culture of immediate gratification. Nobody,
You're right.
This pastor friend of mine told me this story one time that I'll never forget. He said he was doing a sermon about what you're talking about. No one wants to work for it. No one wants to pay the price. No one wants those long hours of sitting and working and studying and all that stuff. Nobody wants to go through that. They just want the results without the work. He said he stood up in church one day and he said to the congregation when he was preaching,